Welcome to Practical Philosophy, where we explore the depths of psychology, philosophy, and the hidden truths about human nature and life. If you are seeking fresh perspectives and unique approaches to understanding yourself and the world around you, then this is the place for you. Make sure to subscribe, save this video to revisit later, and share it with those on their journey of self-discovery. We spend our entire lives searching for love, understanding, and connection with others. Yet how many of us realize that every relationship we experience is merely a mirror reflecting our own inner world? We believe that love is something external, something to be sought, earned, or claimed. But this illusion traps us in a cycle of attachment, suffering, and disappointment. Let me tell you a truth that perhaps no one has ever told you before. No one can truly love you until you understand this. Carl Jung, the great psychologist of the 20th century, discovered a concept that has the power to completely transform how we perceive ourselves and our relationships: the shadow self. These are the parts of ourselves that we refuse to acknowledge, the buried traits within our subconscious, the emotions we suppress, and the aspects of our personality that we reject. Yet, what we deny within us does not disappear. Instead, it returns to haunt us in the form of chaotic relationships, negative emotions, and repeating life patterns. Have you ever wondered why certain people irritate you deeply, while others seem to have a strangely magnetic pull on you? This is not random. They are mirroring the parts of you that remain unrecognized or unhealed. Think about someone who has recently made you angry, frustrated, or disappointed. You might believe that the problem lies with them. But in reality, what is it about their actions that triggered such a strong reaction within you? What part of yourself is being reflected through them? For example, if you feel uncomfortable around someone who is overly confident, it could be because deep down, you also crave to express yourself but have suppressed that desire. If you are drawn to people with strong, dominant personalities, perhaps you have overlooked your own inner longing for freedom and power. What we love or despise in others often represents the qualities we lack or repress within ourselves. This reflection becomes most evident in romantic relationships. Many people fail to realize that they are repeatedly attracted to the same type of person, engaging in the same painful relationship dynamics, and then wondering why they always end up heartbroken. But if they were to look deeper within, they would see that they are seeking in others what they lack within themselves. A person who constantly falls into toxic relationships may unconsciously be seeking confirmation that they are unworthy of love. Someone who repeatedly feels abandoned may still carry an unhealed wound from their past. These patterns are not coincidences. They are psychological imprints buried deep within the mind. The key question is not, why is this person behaving this way? But rather, what is this person reflecting within me? This is the key to breaking negative cycles in life. When someone causes you pain, resist the urge to blame them immediately. Instead, ask yourself, what within me is being awakened? This does not mean tolerating bad behavior, but rather, understanding that your emotional responses serve as a compass guiding you toward deeper self-awareness. The truth is, those who trigger the strongest emotional reactions within us are often our greatest teachers. They reveal the parts of ourselves that need to be explored, accepted, and integrated. If we learn to observe and reflect instead of reacting unconsciously, we will gradually find inner peace and true wisdom. The influence of society and culture on our perception of love and the self. Love does not exist in isolation. It is shaped by society, culture, and the era in which we live. Throughout history, every civilization has developed its own perspectives on love, marriage, and human relationships. From ancient myths about idealized love to the romanticized models presented by modern pop culture. These influences have shaped our understanding of love. But do these societal definitions truly reflect the deep essence of love? Or are they merely superficial constructs designed to regulate human behavior? We grow up absorbing idealized love stories from movies, novels, and music. These narratives paint love as the ultimate salvation, the highest goal in life. However, the paradox is that the more people idolize this idealized version of love, the more they set themselves up for disappointment when reality fails to meet their expectations. They do not love a real person. They love an idealized version of someone, a projection conditioned by cultural programming. In many cultures, love is bound by moral frameworks. obligations, and traditions. Some societies view marriage as a prerequisite for stability, leading many individuals into relationships not out of genuine connection, but out of social pressure. Many people remain trapped in toxic relationships out of fear of being judged rather than pursuing genuine emotional fulfillment. When a society prioritizes appearance over essence, people lose the ability to experience love in its most authentic form. The commercialization of love in the modern world. Love in today's society has been subtly but deeply commercialized. It has become a product to be marketed, a commodity to be exchanged through gifts, romantic vacations, and anniversary celebrations. The entertainment, fashion, and beauty industries constantly create unrealistic standards for love and attraction. We are taught that we must look a certain way, adopt a particular lifestyle, or achieve a certain status to be considered worthy of love. But does true love depend on clothing, a perfect body, or social status? Technology and social media have further distorted the concept of love. People showcase their love through meticulously curated images and romanticized narratives, crafting a perfect illusion of their relationships. Yet, the reality behind these social media posts remains hidden: the arguments, emotional wounds, and loneliness beneath the surface. This creates an ironic paradox. The more people display their love online, the more others feel inadequate, comparing their real lives to someone else's illusion. How society's definition of love shapes the ego. Society's perception of love also deeply impacts the ego. In a world where love is seen as a measure of personal worth, those who are single or unmarried often feel as if they are incomplete. But why should we measure our self-worth by whether or not we are in a relationship? This mindset only pushes people to seek love from a place of emotional lack, rather than from inner wholeness. The truth is, love is not a reward given to those who qualify. It is not a form of social validation or a transactional exchange of benefits. True love is an experience, an organic connection that transcends the rigid frameworks imposed by society. When a person realizes that they do not need anyone to complete them, they finally become free in love. At that point, they no longer seek love as a necessity, but rather share it as a natural state of being. We are not merely shaped by our personal emotions but also profoundly influenced by the societal structures and cultural norms we grow up with. From childhood, we are taught that love is a goal to achieve, something we must actively search for, rather than a state that naturally exists within us. Modern society imposes rigid expectations on love and relationships. Movies, novels, and music construct the idea of a perfect half, ingraining into our minds the belief that we are incomplete until we find someone to complete us. This creates a dangerous cycle. Instead of cultivating inner fulfillment, we search for someone else to fill the void within us. When a relationship ends, we do not just feel the loss of love, we feel the loss of our very identity. Understanding these influences allows us to break free from societal conditioning and experience love authentically, without being bound by illusions. True love is not about finding someone to complete you, but about becoming whole within yourself so that love is no longer a dependency, but a choice. Emotional dependency and how to break free from false beliefs. By its very nature, love is a harmonious connection between two independent beings. However, paradoxically, many people perceive love as dependency, a safe haven for insecure souls, or a remedy for loneliness. When love becomes a lifeline, when we see another person as the sole source of our happiness, the relationship itself already carries the seed of its own instability. Take a moment to observe yourself or those around you. How many people are willing to lose themselves just to hold onto a relationship? How many live in constant fear of losing the person they love? The truth is, most of us do not actually love others. We love the feelings they bring us. We do not truly want our partners to be themselves. Instead, we want them to become the version that satisfies our expectations. And when they change or leave, it feels as if our entire world is crumbling. But look deeper. Why do we fear losing someone? Because we have equated our happiness with their presence. We have convinced ourselves that without them, we cannot feel joy, we cannot feel whole. Yet, this is one of the greatest illusions humans have created, the illusion that love must come from outside of us. When we rely on someone else to feel complete, we place ourselves in a fragile and powerless position. We become hostages to our emotions, controlled by the reactions and behaviors of our partner. If they love us, we feel worthy. If they leave, we feel empty. This is not true love, it is emotional addiction, a form of psychological dependency that many people fail to recognize. How to break free from emotional dependency? The first step is to recognize the fundamental truth that no one is responsible for your happiness except you. This may seem simple, but how many people truly understand and apply it? Many mistakenly believe that finding the right person will make them feel complete. That once they meet their soulmate, the emptiness inside them will disappear. But the truth is, a relationship is not the union of two incomplete halves, it is the meeting of two whole individuals who share and uplift each other, not rely on one another for emotional survival. When we depend on others to provide us with happiness, we unintentionally place them in an impossible position, the position of being responsible for our emotional well-being. Love, then, ceases to be a space of freedom and instead becomes a burden filled with pressure. A lasting and fulfilling relationship does not come from needing each other to survive, rather, it comes from choosing each other even when both individuals are already whole within themselves. One of the most effective ways to achieve this is by developing emotional independence. This does not mean rejecting love, but rather ensuring that love is not the only reason for our existence. Society has conditioned us to believe that love should be the center of our lives. But the truth is, love is not everything. When a person has a rich inner world, when they find joy in their own passions, work, and personal experiences, they stop seeking love as a form of salvation and instead, love becomes a natural part of their journey. What truly matters is that they no longer see love as a way to fill a void, but rather as a conscious choice to share and grow with someone. They enter a relationship without expectations that their partner must complete them, without placing pressure on love to be the only source of happiness. This is the only way a relationship can be truly sustainable, not through dependency, but through wholeness. But how do we achieve this state? Start by asking yourself these crucial questions. If I had no one by my side tomorrow, could I still be happy on my own? Am I loving this person for who they truly are? Or do I need them to fill a void within me? Would I be willing to let go of a relationship if it were no longer healthy? Or am I holding onto it out of fear? These questions are not just psychological tests. They serve as a mirror reflecting our level of emotional maturity. We can spend our entire lives avoiding the truth, trying to mold ourselves into what society expects. But in the end, avoidance does not make us stronger, it only prolongs unnecessary suffering. To truly free yourself from emotional dependency, understanding the concept is not enough, you must actively confront yourself. Remember, no one else can liberate you except yourself. If you seek sharper insights, deeper analyses on psychology, philosophy, and the inner workings of the human mind, don't forget to follow Practical Philosophy, a space for those who desire to understand the deeper truths of life. And now, let's go even further. How can we break free from the unrealistic expectations that society imposes on love? Breaking free from the illusion of perfect love. In the imagination of many, love is something eternal, flawless, and unshakable. We are raised on stories of breathtaking romance, where two people find each other among millions, where fate guides them, and where all conflicts can be resolved with a single kiss or a lifelong vow. But reality is nothing like that. Love is not a magical force that appears to rescue us from loneliness or inner turmoil. And most importantly, there is no such thing as perfect love. Society has constructed a series of unrealistic expectations about love, forcing people to chase after impossible ideals. Many believe that true love must always be beautiful, must always bring happiness, and must maintain endless romance. However, these unrealistic expectations often lead to disappointment, suffering, and confusion when relationships fail to meet the scripted narratives people have been conditioned to believe in. Love is not always sweet, effortless, or cinematic. It carries challenges, conflicts, exhaustion, and moments of struggle that require effort and commitment to sustain. Yet, many people refuse to accept this reality. They assume that if a relationship encounters problems, then it must not be true love. This is a dangerous misconception. We have become accustomed to idolizing love, turning it into an untouchable ideal. We are led to believe that if we truly love someone, Everything should be easy, but no one tells us that real love requires patience, resilience, and, above all, the ability to see a person for who they truly are without trying to change them to fit our desires. The greatest paradox of love is that the more we pursue perfection, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. When someone loves another because they seem perfect, they are not truly loving the real person. They are loving an idealized image they have projected onto them. When that person inevitably reveals their flaws and imperfections, disillusionment sets in, and love begins to crumble. But is this fair or realistic? A relationship cannot endure if it is built upon the expectation that both people will always be flawless, always agree, and always fulfill every need of the other. The truth is, real love begins when we can see each other's imperfections and still choose to stay, not out of obligation, but out of understanding and shared growth. Another common mistake people make is believing that love is determined by fate. They think that somewhere out there, a perfect soulmate is waiting for them, a missing half, destined to complete them. But if we spend our lives searching for perfection, we will never stop searching, because perfection does not exist. A lasting love is not the result of a fated connection, it is a conscious choice. When two people choose to be together, they are not merely bound by emotions, but by responsibility and emotional maturity. They accept that there will be difficult phases, doubts, and challenges, yet they choose to face those struggles together. This is true love, not blind infatuation, but a deep, conscious commitment based on understanding the consequences of chasing perfect love. Modern society, shaped by media, social networks, and consumer culture, has made people increasingly obsessed with the idea of perfect love. Dating apps encourage us to constantly evaluate others based on a few pictures and a short bio, making many believe there is always a better option out there. This mindset prevents us from accepting the natural imperfections of a real relationship, as we are always haunted by the thought that someone better might exist elsewhere. But in reality, jumping from one relationship to another in search of perfection is a never-ending road. Those who chase idealized love often experience three key consequences. 1. They are never satisfied with anyone, because they constantly compare their partner to an unrealistic, idealized version. 2. They give up easily at the first sign of difficulty, because they believe that true love should never be hard. 3. They live in a state of waiting, postponing their happiness while hoping for the perfect person to appear. How to break free from the illusion of perfect love? To truly love someone, we must learn to love them as they are, with all their complexities, rather than a version we have idealized in our minds. This requires a profound shift in perspective. Accept that no one is perfect, including yourself. Understand that real love is not a state of constant happiness, but a process of growth and building together. Learn to face reality rather than escaping from challenges. Relationships require work. Stop comparing your relationship to the unrealistic standards portrayed in movies and social media. A deep and meaningful love is not an illusion crafted from flawless ideals. It is the acceptance of both light and darkness within a relationship. It is not just about passionate moments, but also about standing together through struggles, disagreements, and the fragile moments of human emotions. We often seek perfection, but the truth is, it is the imperfections that create authentic and lasting relationships. Real love does not come from expecting our partner to always make us happy. It comes from the understanding that both people have flaws and limitations that must be accepted rather than changed. Instead of placing love on a pedestal, we need to bring it down to reality, where there are no fairy tale romances. Only two people learning to love each other in the most honest way possible. Instead of chasing the dream of a perfect love, seek a love that is real enough to withstand the test of time. A love where you can be your true self, without pretense, without needing to be flawless, and still be accepted. Because in the end, true love, though imperfect, is the only love that can bring lasting happiness. Society has taught us that love is everything, that without love, life is meaningless. But this is a flawed belief. Love is an important part of life, but it is not the only thing that gives our existence meaning. We are surrounded by idealized love stories in movies, where every conflict ends beautifully, where partners always understand each other without words, and where love overcomes everything. But real relationships are filled with challenges, misunderstandings, and moments of acceptance that not everyone is meant to stay. One of the biggest mistakes is believing there is one perfect person, meant just for us. We obsessively search for someone who matches every standard we have set. But the reality is no one is perfect. The more we pursue an idealized partner, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. And when we become disappointed, we blame love itself rather than recognizing that our unrealistic expectations caused our suffering. True freedom in love comes when we accept that no one is responsible for completing us, and that we are not responsible for completing anyone else. A happy relationship is not the union of two perfect halves, but the meeting of two whole individuals, mature enough to learn and grow together. Without binding each other with fear or control, entering love with freedom, when we no longer see love as possession, when we stop clinging to others for a sense of security, we begin to truly understand the essence of love. We love not because we need, but because we wish to share. We no longer fear losing someone, because we know we are already whole. True love is not dependence, it is companionship. No one can be everything to us, just as we cannot be everything to anyone. Once we grasp this truth, fear disappears from love. We no longer hold on to someone out of loneliness or insecurity. Because real love is not about finding someone to complete us, but about finding someone to create something greater together. And when we step into love with wholeness from within, that love transforms into a truly free, beautiful, and lasting experience. One of the main causes of suffering in love is emotional dependency. When a person has not yet achieved psychological maturity, they tend to place their happiness in the hands of another. This makes them easily hurt, easily disappointed, and turns them into victims of toxic relationships. To escape this endless cycle, we need to cultivate emotional independence, meaning we must be able to generate our own happiness instead of relying on love from another person. This does not mean living in isolation or rejecting companionship, but rather entering a relationship from a place of strength, knowing how to love without control or possession. Love is one of the deepest and most mysterious subjects that humanity has ever explored. From ancient civilizations to modern times, love has been a source of inspiration for poetry, philosophy, and art. But is love truly a destination? Or is it merely a means for self-discovery? Throughout history, great philosophers have held vastly different perspectives on love. Plato viewed love as a path to enlightenment, where the soul longs for perfection, striving toward higher states of consciousness. Nietzsche, on the other hand, saw love as a power struggle, where people become entangled in passions and desires they cannot control. Buddhism takes a different approach, advising against attachment, emphasizing that love can only truly exist when there is no possession or clinging. A thought-provoking question arises: does love contradict inner freedom? We are often told that to love someone means to be deeply connected to them, to share and walk through life together. But does such a relationship truly align with freedom? If love causes us to lose ourselves, if it makes us forget our own identity and values, then it is no longer love, it is dependence. Stoic philosophy teaches that inner freedom can only be attained when we control our desires and emotions, rather than being controlled by external circumstances. A Stoic person loves, but they do not place their happiness in another's hands. Humans crave connection, yet at the same time, we long to maintain our independence. But how can we have both without losing ourselves? Socrates once said that love is not possession, but rather the encouragement of one another's growth. An ideal relationship is not one where two people merge into one, but where two individuals stand side by side, walking their own paths while growing together. So how do we achieve this balance? The answer lies in building a love that is non-dependent and non-controlling. When we love without expectations, when we appreciate our partner's presence without trying to shape them, when we accept that anyone can leave at any time and yet we remain whole, that is the moment love reaches its highest form of freedom. The great philosophers of the past have left behind a priceless legacy on love and freedom. They taught us that love is not something to seek, but something to become. When one attains true inner freedom, love no longer becomes a source of suffering or anxiety, but rather a natural act of sharing, unburdened by the constraints of ego. So instead of asking, "How do I find love?" perhaps we should be asking, "How do I become love?" When we are whole, we no longer crave love to fill our emptiness. When we are free, love is no longer something we chase. It is something that naturally flows from within us. Both Eastern and Western philosophies emphasize that real love is not possession, but rather a deep understanding of oneself and the world. In Buddhist thought, true love is a state of boundless compassion, where one loves not out of personal need, but out of connection with all beings. Plato, on the other hand, saw love as a path to wisdom, a force that elevates the human soul to higher levels of awareness. The fascinating truth is that love is best experienced when we stop searching for it as a necessity. A person who is unhappy with themselves will always seek love as a form of salvation, but in reality, this very attachment pushes them further away from true love. When we learn to love ourselves in a healthy way, love ceases to be a craving or a need, and instead, it becomes a natural state of existence. So love is not something we need to chase or acquire. It has never been outside of us, it has always been within, waiting to be awakened. Conclusion: we can live a deeply fulfilling life without needing to search for love externally. When we love ourselves, love becomes a natural part of our being, not something we desperately seek or try to attain. And when we enter a relationship from a place of inner completeness, love becomes a beautiful and enduring experience, rather than a cycle of expectation and disappointment. Because love is not something we find, it is something we become. And when you become love, you no longer need to search for it.